Hi folks, welcome back to episode number 3 of Kurtski's Garage. I'm Kurt, and sometimes I ski, but I'm not really Kurt Ski. It was just a nickname that somehow followed me around for decades. Regardless, thank you for joining me. And if you've made it this far, you're either in, well, you're in one of 3 camps. You're a certified car nut, you love Mercedes, or you're related to me. Whatever the case may be, thank you for coming along and watching me as I do my thing. We'll get better and better with every episode, I promise you. So to that end, we are finally welcoming the project car, the 1990 Mercedes 300 SEL, which you've seen little bits of in the first 2 episodes of The Garage. We're finally welcoming that home. I am not welcoming the bill that I'm going to get, but I kind of knew what I was in for based on a number of the issues that had to be addressed, and I've shared with you that that HVAC motor, and specifically the speed controller for it, that was a big ouch. I was not expecting the speed controller and the price that that part commands. That hurt. The wheel bearing, you know, I thought, hey, a wheel bearing, if that's all it really needs for mechanical safetying, no big deal. Well, the wheel bearing wasn't the big deal. It was the hub that it fits in that had to be replaced. And quite candidly, that's what derailed the delivery of the car, or its readiness, if you will, for 2 weeks to get parts. But there we are. This is what happens. 35-year-old car, and not every part is exactly on the shelf. So you got to have patience with these things. And in the meantime, I filled suspension repairs and various and sundry other things. But we're going to pick up the car. So we're going to make our way very shortly to Napa Berry Auto Care to talk to Dave Morrison and his team. And we'll get a bill, and Visa will get a big workout. I'm in a lot of trouble. Any rate, moving on. And in a couple of days, I am going to film a collection of really cool stuff. There's one car, but there's some other interesting things. And I think you're going to be really excited to see this and talk to the fellow behind this collection, because he has passion too. And I think that's going to be very, very clear when he talks about what he collects. I mean, let's face it, collecting is a very unique thing to do. And it's sparked by something that draws us to whatever we're collecting to. And we have to be, you know, if it's a completionist of so many different things, or a certain era, or maybe we're collecting a flight, a horizontal or vertical flight, you know, a certain capacity of vehicle across manufacturers, or a certain manufacturer's line of product. Whatever the case, whatever the strategy, there's some really interesting thought behind it. And I think you're going to enjoy this interview that I have with this particular collector, which I'm going to film in a couple of days. So that'll be episode number 4. We have other things coming up. I'm doing a collaboration with another car YouTuber that you may know. We're going to keep that as a surprise, but I had a meeting with him yesterday, and we're going to work on actually doing a video of one of my cars. I have a 1988 Porsche 911, the Carrera 3.2. It's a cabriolet. I haven't even gotten it out this season because I've been so busy with the Mercedes projects. So that's going to come out of hibernation, albeit very shortly, because, you know, the summer is winding down and we're already getting into cold weather. Anyway, I talk too much. Let's go to Napa Berry Auto Care and let's get that Mercedes looked after and bring it home. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. No, I do not have the 300 SEL yet. Things happen, and that's okay. That's the way it goes. So in the time frame between filming the introduction that you just saw and now, about a week has passed, and you know, that part for the rear suspension bearing, that mount, it was actually the entire right-hand trailing arm of the suspension that had to come in. So that took a little bit longer than expected, and it was actually a fairly significant job to install because a lot of the rear subframe had to come out, and so be it. I mean, it's a big job, but I have to tell you, one of the cool things about having a car that has not been winter driven, all those pesky nuts and bolts and things that hold the stuff together, well, it really wasn't that big a deal to remove. So the mechanic who was doing the job, a young guy, which he's really cool and just bought a 59 MGA, which I'm so excited for him because he took great pride in showing it to me late last week. He's been doing a great job on the car, and he walked me through the entire procedure to replace that. So anyway, that work is done. It's been buttoned up. And my mechanic, the head mechanic and shop owner, Dave, gave me a call yesterday saying that the car passed the road test with respect to that repair, but he found a lot of driveline shutter, and he wanted to do some further investigation with it, and actually did, and found a flex disc, the front flex disc in the driveline, to be well past its expiration date. And he had actually sent me a video of the part, and it was very, very clear that the holes were elongated, and I'll get into what the flex disc does in just a moment. At any rate, the part was already ordered, and it was fairly inexpensive, easy to get, and I'm still expecting the car to be wrapped up this week. So I'm looking forward to that, not looking forward to the bill, of course, but we'll get into that. But a tremendous amount of work was actually done, and as sort of a thank you for the work that I've entrusted him with, he's going to do some extra work on the HVAC system, specifically the air conditioning, and trying to root cause why that's not working. So the flex disc, this is actually very, very common on European cars. It serves two purposes. It can act as a bit of a universal joint. Now, I'm not talking if you have like a 45 degree. No, the flex disc isn't going to take that kind of geometry change. But if it's just ever so slight, like a few degrees, the flex disc can handle that. But really, its main purpose is to help eliminate driveline shutter and isolate vibration. So there's two of them on a rear drive car. One, it's basically attached to the output yoke of the transmission, and then the forward yoke on the drive shaft. The two are coupled. There's 3 bolts per yoke, 6 bolts total. And then, the same is true of the rear end flex disc on the rear of the drive shaft, 3 on the yoke on the drive shaft, and 3 on the input yoke for the differential. So these can take up the driveline shocks that are normally associated with things like just the transmission shifting, or if a rear wheel breaks loose and causes some driveline shutter, these particular flex discs will take up that driveline shock and help to eliminate it coming into the cabin. So it's actually pretty cool. Now, there was some concern too that the driveline shutter would be associated with engine and or transmission mounts. So I asked them to have a look at those, because those are a common failure point on high mileage Mercedes. Perhaps you've even seen the episode that the Car Wizard in Kansas did on Mercedes engine mounts being a common failure point. It's a technique of an elastomeric component between 2 metal components. The metal components, one bolts to the engine, one bolts to the frame or the transmission and the cross member that holds it, whatever the case may be. And over time, the elastomer component of that part, the mount, will collapse, and the engine or transmission mounts will fail. They will always fail in a safe way, so they close, but all of the vibration from the engine and transmission gets transferred into the metal structure of the car via the frame rails or the transmission cross member. So we obviously don't want to have that. So enough said about that. That's going to be fixed, and I still fully anticipate picking the car up this week, because the part is actually, for a change, readily available. And then that will be it. Then I can start to dig into it. We'll show you the car as promised many times. Ironically, the first thing, or not ironically, but perhaps questioning why I would do this, the first thing I'm going to do is in fact replace the power antenna, because that is a hole in the rear fender and I want that hole filled. So we'll get, I assume it's a Hirschman power antenna. We'll dig into that, get that replaced, and then the body will be completely sealed up. While we're waiting for that to come in, we'll start doing some cleanup and assess the other things that I have to do. I know for a fact that the driver's door lock does not actually lock the car. It can unlock, but it doesn't lock. And the inside door release handle looks like it's off its mount. So there's probably something either with that assembly, the inside door handle, or the rod that connects the door handle to the actual door lock. In any case, I've already bought some parts to deal with that, and I'm sure that will be a pretty straightforward fix. So we'll get into that. Now, some of you commented when I changed the rear hydraulic pressure accumulator on the SL 500 that I did not really get into the repair. And, you know, truth be told, I didn't really want to waste a lot of time doing that. Well, things have changed. I have to still do the front pressure accumulator, and we're going to do that this morning. It is really not that big a job. I just have to take out an access panel directly under where the front pressure accumulator is. It sits ahead of the driver's side front tire, and it's actually ahead of the valve block, which I worked on, was it 3 years ago or 2 years ago when I got the car? I think 2 years ago. Yeah, because this is the third season I've had it. So yeah, any rate, moving on. We're going to replace that pressure accumulator. So the next shot you will see is the car jacked up. I jack it with a low profile jack on the engine mount, the cross member under the oil pan. That will take the weight of the car. And of course we put some jack stands underneath to secure it while we're working. And I even broke down and bought some power tools, the rechargeable stuff. So we'll have very simply a ratchet, an electric ratchet, and a couple of wrenches. And that's really all it needs. It shouldn't be more than a half-hour job. You never know with these R230s. So at any rate, the next scene you'll see, we'll have the car jacked up, we'll have a rear wheel chocked just for extra safety, and of course the parking brake engaged as well, just to keep everything as safe as possible. And then we'll get into it and replace that front pressure accumulator. Hang tight, we'll see you in a sec. Hey guys, I promised you that I'd be here with you as we work through this repair. I did jack the car up, but what I've done is jack it up on its side because the low profile jack does not fit under this front air dam far enough to access. Hopefully you could see what I'm pointing to there, that bump, that central bump. So I've jacked the car up at its front jacking point. We've got a jack stand under the front control arm bushing mount and a second jack stand underneath the rear pickup point. Hopefully you can see that. I think you can see it. So we're good, we're safe. Now we're gonna go underneath the car. Now this is directly underneath. There we go. Oh, well, there it is right there. This is directly underneath the cover for the front air dam, the front bumper. Look, there's the brake accumulator right there. 17 millimeter nut there. I cracked it just to make sure I could get it open. Not a problem, it's already leaking, so I'm going to get that drain under there super quick. That comes out, crack that first, and then you've got two 10 millimeter bolts, the front, one in the back. So let me do this because I do not want to leak this fluid all over the driveway. Okay, so cracking that nut on the accumulator is done with a trusty 17 millimeter wrench, a few turns, and I was able to back it off with my thumb and forefinger. Now, I hadn't driven the car in several days, so the suspension is not fully pressurized, and the fact that I'm also, jacking the car up with jack stands supporting the weight, actually not supporting the weight on the tires and suspension, but on the suspension pickup points, I'm relieving some of the pressure on the suspension. So we don't have a tremendous amount of pressure there. Just a few drops of oil came out, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to get the extension on the wrench. It's a 10 millimeter, and we're going to back off the bolts holding in the pressure accumulator, and then we'll do the swap. So, big fingers in the way there. We'll do the swap, and we'll show you what the accumulator looks like. Okay, guys, we had success. The old accumulator is out. There it is. As I mentioned before, it's about the size of a large grapefruit. You've got high pressure hydraulic fluid coming in on that side of it. There's an elastomeric membrane, probably close to where that seam is, if not right on that seam, and nitrogen on this side, and that nitrogen, it compresses as the fluid enters the chamber. It's actually, if you're on a well and septic system, it's very, very similar in design to the water pressure tank that you'll have on your well system. The pump will pump water into that. Now, it doesn't use nitrogen, it simply uses air because you're always in the house with that big tank, and there's really no change in the temperature that would affect the air density and therefore the air pressure. Now, nitrogen, if someone can correct me on this, please feel free to do so, but nitrogen does not change its density, if you will. Not mass, what am I trying to say? It doesn't expand or contract in heat or cool. So you get a consistent rebound effect with nitrogen in these accumulators. So they are very commonly used in many cars. Citroen pioneered it. It went to Rolls-Royce in the Silver Shadow. The Mercedes 6.9 used a similar system. And I was just watching a video the other day where they talked about a hydraulic pressure accumulator. And I wish I could remember what the car was, but it's exactly the same thing. Now the accumulator is held on with 3 bolts. You can see 2 there, 1 there. It's very simply a 10mm nut. Now, it's a little tricky getting these things on and off because the studs that hang down to accept the bolts kind of interfere with how you may want to put the oil line, the hydraulic oil line, into the accumulator. When you're removing or installing, you have to back off the 17mm nut going to the hydraulic accumulator first, then loosen the mounting bolts and you can get the accumulator free. So to put it in, what we're going to do is get the line to the accumulator installed first, then wrestle with getting the mounting spots over those studs that are hanging down, and we will finger tighten the 17mm nut with, for the fluid into the hydraulic accumulator first, and then we can put in the 10mm nuts. I won't tighten them up completely. That will be the very last thing. Well, actually, probably second last thing. I'll get this thing finger tight. Let's put it that way. I'll get the 17mm nut finger tight, and then we'll tighten up the 10mm. At that point in time, I can reinstall the shield, the tray underneath directly underneath that, and get the car back on an even keel. We'll assess ride height and we'll add more fluid, which I will show you. Okay, stay with me. Oh, there we go, big fingers again, stay with me. Okay, just want to show you a little struggle point here. I think you should be able to see it. Okay, we're gonna get underneath. If you could see, like, this is where the high pressure line comes into the accumulator. Yep, and you can see the studs there and there. Now, this line does not have a hell of a lot of give because it's a hard line, and what you have to do is sort of jimmy this thing around to the point where you have an engagement with this line into the accumulator and slide these mounting spots over these 2 studs. If you do that, the third one back here will come on pretty easily. So I'm just going to keep struggling with that, but this is not the easiest thing when you're lying sideways. Chances are if you're working underneath the car, you can get more leverage on it, but I don't have that yet. But not to fear, it'll be done shortly. Okay, folks, the new accumulator is in place. We're just going to give it a wipe down. The trick was to get, hopefully you can see it, the 17mm nut and the line in to the accumulator and apply very, very gentle pressure to get the accumulator, the mounts over the studs on this side. There's 2, and then get the 2 10mm bolts on ever so slightly, just to allow enough room for the line to be tightened further by hand. Get the 3rd mounting bolt in back there, and then you can work the 17mm nut in further, tighten up the 10 mils and tighten up the 17, and we're good. So I'm going to wipe this thing down. We'll reinstall the splash shield here, and then we'll fire it up, check levels, check ride height, and take it for a test drive. There we go. Okay, I've removed the jack, the jack stands, the tools are cleaned up. I've lowered the car, and I can tell you already the front is sitting different. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see. Have a look. That's sitting a good 1/4 inch higher than it was previously. And that's basically the similar result to what I saw when I changed the rear pressure accumulator. So I think this job is probably, you know, it's done. It's going in the right direction. I'm just going to check the fluid, and that fluid, by the way, if you don't wish to buy the Mercedes-Benz ABC fluid, and there's no point of doing it, Pentosan, however you wish to pronounce it, CHF 11S. Still set you back about $45 Canadian a liter. Is it a liter? Yep, it's a liter. It is not cheap, but it's apparently the fluid of choice for European power steering, and certainly in this case the ABC system. So next thing we're going to do is check the fluid level. Okay, so we're in the engine bay of the SL, and my neighbor is making stuff across the street, so we'll talk over it, not a problem. Now, what have we got here? So this is in Choman, but basically, if the engine is running, you want the dipstick to be at that level. Not running, you want it to be here. So let's see. I've just wiped it off, just like you would checking regular engine oil. So let's put it back in the ABC fluid reservoir. And we're down a little bit. And that's not surprising since we removed what presumably is a defective accumulator. So we're going to go ahead and add some fluid. Bear with me. Okay, so we're going to open up the reservoir here. Get this out of the way gently as possible, and whoop, pour fluid in there, make a mess. It's all good. No, it's not. You don't want to make a mess. Now we want to get that back in to account for the weight. That mechanism, this is so messy. There, that's better. That wiped out. I think we should be there. That was quite messy, and yes, I know I should have used a funnel, but here we are. I think that's going to be it. Yep, we're good. I'm happy with that. All right, so next thing is to start the car and make sure we're good there. Okay, so we're just going to start the car. I haven't started the car in about 5 days. About that. Well, maybe a bit longer. Last time I drove it and I parked it, the ABC in the front, it dropped all the way. So in my opinion, that was a shot off the bow that that accumulator was going to fail. So there was no point of driving it further until I could have the time to fix it. So here we go. We're going to start it. Fires up right away, of course. We're just going to turn there. We're going to turn everything down. Now, I'm not getting any ABC warning lights. I wouldn't expect so. We're just going to raise the car. Oh, I can feel it raising. That's no problem. And to its second height, just in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, that is the button for raising the car's height. We'll press it again. Oh yeah, you can feel it. Absolutely. And we're going to go outside and you can just see how much suspension travel you have. Have a look. So that's quite a bit of suspension travel. Now we're going to put it to its regular setting. When you raise it, this is sort of the precursor almost to a front axle lift. If you're going up a ramp or a tow vehicle, raise the car. It's an awful lot easier. So we're going to press the button and lower it. So you can see dramatically less suspension, and there we go, less there too. Check that level once more. And you can basically see that it's sort of shiny up until the run point. So we're going to put a couple more tools away. We're going to take it for a test drive, and we'll give you the final verdict. So just got back from a short test drive, just around the block, a couple minutes. Everything seems to behave. The ride quality is greatly improved. It's funny, I felt the same difference when I changed the rear pressure accumulator. It sort of felt like riding on a cloud, and now it really feels like it's riding on the cloud. I may put the suspension back into sport mode to see what happens. I wasn't trying to tax it, in between changing both accumulators, but I think now I'm ready to play a little bit more with it and see how it feels. I'll probably have to cycle the ride height a few times too, just to get full pressure into the system and eliminate any air bubbles. Because whenever you take something of this nature apart, a hydraulic system, you introduce air and you've got to be able to bleed out the air. This system is actually really good, and it's bled by just altering the ride heights, as far as I know. If you know better, put it in the comments below, somewhere down there. Tell me what your experiences are. But for now, I'm calling that one done. I can put that one to bed for a while, and we can get our attention focused on the project car. I'm expecting a call, if not today, then tomorrow, saying it's ready and it's passed the test drive by Dave, and he'll issue the safety certificate. We'll go to the Service Ontario office, get the plates, and bring her home. There we go. Have a great one, folks. Back soon. This is my 1990 Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL, the W126 chassis, and I'm so delighted to be able to show you this. I'm going to do a walk around of the car. You'll be able to, I'm sure you've seen these before, but hey, this is mine, and I'm really delighted to show it off. So here we are. Now, this vehicle is one of 5 that was done under the design management of the Italian Bruno Sacco. And Mr. Sacco, probably unlike anyone before or since, did more to give Mercedes-Benz a corporate identity, not only for the 1980s, but into the 90s, and really established a flavor that is still with us today. So this is the first car that he did, the W126. Then came the W124 E-Class, and then came the W201, the 190, the forerunner of the C-Class, and the vehicle, of course, that he was most impressed with or pleased with, the R129, the follow-up SL to the long-lived R107. But anyway, back to the 126. So we see features like the oh-so-cool 1980s windshield headlight wipers, which was a result of a European mandate, actually. And I want to note, as you're seeing the car, you're seeing it with all the dings and dents and blemishes as it rolled out from the garage of the previous owner, who owned it since 1990. So yes, I am only the second owner of the vehicle, and my intent is to bring it back to complete stock originality, and then maybe we'll see if there's other things we want to do, a tire or rim package, that kind of thing. As you can see, these are the tail lights that have notoriety for being designed to let mud, dust, dirt, snow, whatever, fly up and keep the tail lights clean. It's kind of a neat trick. It's just a simple wind resistance thing, but it works very, very well. Now, I may be a little biased, but I don't think there is a bad angle on this car. Just everything speaks of solidity and just long-lasting durability. Now the inside, basic black leather. It's actually in remarkably good condition for its age and the mileage, 265,000 kilometers. So I assume that would be somewhere around 180,000 miles, give or take. There's only one bad spot in the driver's side bolster, which, that would be a weak spot on most cars just from getting in and out. But overall, the leather is in excellent shape. I've already done one coat of re-dyeing on the driver's side, and it's taken it very well. Now, this shot, you can really see what separates the long wheelbase from the regular wheelbase. The back seat is simply cavernous. I mean, this is bordering on chauffeur-driven cars. I guess, in something like a 560 SEL, that would have been potentially a chauffeur-driven car. So there you are. But plenty of legroom, plenty of stretch room. We've got power windows. The 420 and 560 could have had a power reclining seat as well as seat heaters, and this vehicle does not have that, being the entry-level S-Class. Again, another shot of the interior and coming around. It's just, there are no bad angles on this thing. I'll say it again, and it's just such a beautifully designed car, and the styling really belies its length. It's truly a wonderful vehicle. So we're going to come around. Let's see, where am I now? Oh, I know, I wanted to show off the front. One of the things that makes this car so solid is the relative lack of tumble home in the greenhouse. And tumble home is the angle from the car's belt line coming up to the roof line. Now, this vehicle has some, but it is not a particularly, obviously not a sporty looking vehicle by any means, but it conveys solidity. You may recall there was a generation of Toyota Lexus product that had virtually no tumble home. That was the Avalon, the Camry, and the Lexus ES300, and it looked rather awkward without that. This has just enough, and this shot will really show just that solidity in the greenhouse and how the tumble home sort of comes into play there. Mild creases on the hood, not only for strength in the sheet metal, but leading up to that beautiful polished stainless steel grille. At the back, it's reasonably plain, but that I think has allowed the vehicle to age remarkably well. The C-pillars are very, very thick, not only for safety in the event of a rollover, but it really simply imparts this solidity. Everything about the car, its proportions, there's nothing that looks dainty. This car just speaks solidity, durability, and timelessness. I think it's, here I am saying it again. I think it's an absolutely stunning design. Now we're going to go under the hood, and this is where I'm going to say it's almost amusing, because unlike the V8s and even the diesels, there is not much going on with this 3-liter inline 6. It is remarkably straightforward. You've got plenty of room to do your maintenance and troubleshoot and change parts. So the vehicle's had a basic tune-up, and that's pretty much it. New wiring harness looms, spark plug wiring loom rather. Just the basics. I'm certainly going to get in there and clean it up as time allows. It's not my first priority though. ABS, all that good stuff. Got a fuse box easily accessible, the brake servo and brake reservoir. It's so simple. It's just so simple. The vehicle does have some technology to it, but honestly, certainly not much by today's standards, but at its time, it was pretty reasonable. And of course, BMW leapfrogged it with the E32. At any rate, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough, and we'll go from there.